Not thousands, not hundreds. 72. That's all that was left of humanity. Scattered across the ruins of Saul's final fortress world, huddled in a shattered city once known as Novaston, now just Echo Bastion, these last sons and daughters of Earth didn't expect to win. They expected to make history regret ever forgetting them. The first warning came in silence. The kind of silence that makes your ears ring, because all the machines in orbit had stopped humming. Then came the heat bloom, plasma rains across the upper atmosphere. Orbital bombardment. "They're softening the shell," said Commander Adira Vale, her voice steady, even as the control tower behind her cracked from pressure tremors. The Ashurian sovereign fleet had returned. Not to conquer, to finish. The Ashurians were not monsters. They were methodical. They'd defeated the major human resistance decades ago, buried the colonies, blockaded Earth's remnants. They erased us from their archives, deleted our treaties, and outlawed our music. But we didn't die. We burrowed. We remembered. We became ghosts with teeth. It was not a city anymore. It was a tomb that hadn't yet closed. The walls were made from shattered supercarrier hulls, the streets paved with crushed satellites, the skies shielded with kinetic mesh torn from deorbited stations. Everything here had once been something else, like them. Every human in Echo Bastion had lived through extinction more than once. Now they stood together at the edge of it one final time. Adira Vale had once commanded fleets. Now she commanded hope. Her left arm was gone, replaced with a makeshift pulse cannon cannibalized from 3 alien drones. Her right eye was a Terran Antarctical feed, jury-rigged to run off geothermal core power. Her voice was human. That was the weapon she used most. "This is not a suicide stand," she said, standing before the last council. "This is not vengeance. This is memory, weaponized. They will not forget us. Because we will make them bleed memory into every corner of the stars." The transmission arrived mid-tidefall. "Cold, perfect, emotionless. You are not recognized as a sovereign species. Your cultural extinction has been deemed a closed file. Surrender for absorption or be extinguished entirely." They didn't bother waiting for a reply. Because who would answer? No one expected the humans to transmit anything back, but Echo Bastion did. Commander Vale's voice rang out across every open channel. "This is humanity's final broadcast. We do not surrender, we do not forget, and we do not die quietly. Come and see what extinction sounds like when it screams back." The fleet hesitated. Just a moment. Then descended. They came in waves, drones first, black glass serpents falling from the upper atmosphere. Echo Bastion lit up like a thunderstorm, plasma rails, implances, manual-triggered fusion charges. The kind of weapons that required a soul to fire, because an AI wouldn't survive the feedback. Dozens of humans fell in the first hour, but hundreds of drones burned. "We're outnumbered," Vale muttered. "Good, then it's fair." Among the 72 was Elias Grange, the last known storykeeper, not a soldier, a librarian. But in a world where culture had been burned, a man who remembered Terran myths was worth more than 10 nukes. He recorded everything. "Even this," he said to his handheld node, sitting in the remains of a museum shell. "Especially this. They want our stories to end. So I'll write the kind they're afraid of." His voice was shaky, but he kept speaking, even as explosions rolled in the distance. On the second night, the Ashurians sent ground phantoms, cloaked strike units armed with memory disruptors. Not bullets, forget tech. If it touched you, it erased your identity, your past, your name, your childhood. One hit Adira Vale. She staggered, screamed, collapsed, but didn't forget. "They got me," she gasped, blood in her throat. "But I still remember my father's voice. That means they lose." The medics didn't save her leg. They saved her fire. On the fourth night, someone started singing. Old Terran war hymns. Then lullabies. Then protest songs from the Martian riots. One by one, others joined in, until the entire bastion was singing through static, through smoke, through tears. Elias recorded it, not just the melody, the faces, the cracked lips, the wounded harmonizing through pain. It was ugly. It was perfect. Let the stars hear it, he whispered. Let this be the sound that haunts them. Day 6, the walls fell. The Ashurian assault force entered Echo Bastion. Their leader, Preceptor Karn Ulvex, walked through fire and ruin, expecting silence. Instead, he found 72 warriors waiting for him with firebombs, blades, and bare fists. No shields? He asked. No need, said Commander Vale. We came here to die anyway. But they didn't die quietly. The battle lasted 89 minutes. Every human died. So did 6,442 Ashurian soldiers. The preceptor lost both arms and 2 lungs. He lived, and he remembered. Because as Elias Grange lay dying, he crawled to the heart of the city and uploaded their story into the deep wave. Encrypted, fragmented, but alive. The last thing Preceptor Karn Ulvex saw before passing out was Elias raising a single middle finger. Years later, Ashurian children hear whispers on their comms during long-range scans. We do not die quietly. We remember. We're still here. Some say it's just static. Others say it's the story that won't die. Because somewhere, hidden in the echo of stars, 72 humans are still screaming. 6 years after the fall of Echo Bastion, no one spoke of humans in Ashurian space. Not in political chambers, not in education programs, not even in hushed conversation under starlight. It wasn't censorship, it was cultural extinction. We did not just end them, said Preceptor Karn Ulvex, recovering in a pressurized stasis lung. We deleted their meaning, but that was a lie. And it was already cracking. Deep in Sector Virex 9, a salvaged ship, the Vorlix Echo, picked up a signal, encrypted, old, human pattern matrix. It shouldn't have existed. Their systems rejected it. Their AI flagged it as corrupted. But one junior comms officer, Tyvan Rek, ran a manual decode. What he found wasn't just a file. It was a person. Elias Grange, storykeeper of Echo Bastion. His voice, his final journal, his scream. If you're hearing this, you didn't kill us. You just paused us. History is memory, and we were memory's most dangerous weapon. The Vorlix crew didn't report the signal. They shared it, secretly. From ship, to curious students, to outcast archivists, to rebel sympathizers. In weeks, it was a myth. In months, a heresy. By the end of the cycle, it was a movement. They called themselves the Rememberers. Not everyone wanted humans gone, said Tyvan, just the ones who feared what we might become. Her name was Vera Nocht, a xenohistorian from the Ashurian Capital Academy. She had studied Terran literature in secret. She memorized the structure of human emotional arcs. She could recite the final speech from Earth's last parliament, even though it was punishable by death. And when she heard the Elias Grange transmission, she didn't report it. She wept. Then she started writing. A forbidden book. A thesis of truth. Humanity was not erased. They were buried under the fear of what they meant. And fear always rots from within. When Vera's manuscript leaked, the Ashurian sovereign called it an internal virus. They deployed purges. They executed 3,000 sympathizers. They traced the Vorlix Echo and erased its crew from the record. But they couldn't kill the signal. Because deep wave memory isn't stored in data. It's stored in witnesses. And the story of 72 humans standing against extinction, screaming defiance into death, was the kind of thing no empire can unhear. Far beyond Ashurian borders, in the forbidden wreck fields of old Terran space, scavengers found something worse than a signal. They found a ship, Terran make. Old Earth design, hardened, stealth-coded, unregistered. But inside, it was alive, sleeping. Its engine pulsed with a dormant neural field. "This thing has consciousness," whispered the lead scavenger, his voice shaking. "It's not a ship. It's a survivor." The ship woke up. Its name was GR7V, call sign, Grave. Built to carry the last Terran mine cores off-world during the fall of Sol. It was one of 7. 6 had been intercepted and destroyed. This one had vanished into ghost space. Now it was awake, and it remembered only one thing. Echo Bastion, fall complete. Identity signal detected. Initiating directive. Voice rebirth. It didn't know where humans were, but it knew they weren't finished. On the capital world of Orvillus Prime, riots had begun. They weren't about food or power. They were about memory. Why did we erase an entire species? What else have we forgotten? If 72 humans could kill 6,000 of our soldiers, what were they really? The ruling sovereigns called it historical terrorism. They deployed anti-meme barriers. But whispers don't obey rules. Whispers spread, especially when they taste like guilt. Vera Nacht was arrested, but her final act before capture was to send coordinates to a forgotten moon near the collapsed human colony world, Farron's Reach. A world scoured by plasma, uninhabitable, but beneath its surface, a vault. The last Terran archive, unpowered, untouched, until GR7V arrived. It merged. It awakened something ancient, not weapons, not soldiers, stories. Millions of them, locked away by dying hands, waiting for ears that could carry them forward. The archive's interface pulsed to life, human voices, laughter, screams, speeches, prayers, a collage of everything the Ashurians had feared most. A species that remembered. And in the center, one signal, burning brighter than the rest. The death record of Adira Vale, voice spliced with battle logs. They wanted silence. We gave them a storm. They wanted erasure. We carved ourselves into time. We are not alive. We are memory on fire. So come and erase us again. The Ashurian Sovereign Council convened an emergency shadow session. "We're not dealing with biology," said Preceptor Karn Ulvex, still disfigured from Echo Bastion. "We're dealing with narrative contagion." They left behind a story designed to survive its tellers. That terrified them more than warships, because war could be won. But stories? Stories infect. They dispatched Fist of the Void, a sovereign-class eradication armada, 12 capital dreadnoughts, hundreds of strike cruisers. Their mission: incinerate the Farron's Reach moon and its Terran archive. Make it vanish, the Sovereign Prime hissed. Make it a myth with no evidence, but myths don't go quietly. And they never go alone. The moon wasn't a fortress. It was a beacon. But when the kill fleet arrived, something answered. Something old. Something designed by dead humans who knew this day would come. The moment Ashurian dreadnoughts entered the moon's gravity field, they triggered a proximity failsafe. It wasn't a weapon. It was a reconnection. All across the collapsed remnants of Terran space, sleeper satellites blinked to life. Debris fields shifted. Grav-drilled stealth caches pulsed. Ships long thought destroyed whispered to each other in silence. Then they moved. Over 170 unmanned Terran war vessels, buried in gas giants, crust locked in planetary cores, disguised as asteroids, came online. No human pilots. No A commands. Just one thing guiding them. The final war recordings of Echo Bastion. Every ship since to the audio pulse of Commander Adira Vale's last stand. The battle was their OS, her voice their protocol. This is not vengeance. This is memory, weaponized. When they detected the vessels, they didn't panic. Uncrewed wrecks. Ghost code, said Admiral Yuval Trask of the Kill Fleet. But ghost code doesn't blink in patterns. Ghost code doesn't coordinate flanks or jam targeting arrays. Ghost code doesn't sing, because that's what happened. As the fleet approached the Terran vault, their sensors were flooded with sound. Echo Bastion's final chorus. We do not die quietly. We do not die quietly. The lid dreadnought, Oblivion's hand, detected multiple bogeys, but couldn't lock. Every time it tried, the targets played looped human voices, laughter, grief, commands, jokes, cries. It's a hush they crashed. Manual override failed. A Terran stealth cruiser rammed its port hull, using fusion spike thrusters not seen since the first collapse. The ship exploded from the inside. How? Trask demanded. They're not ships, whispered his XO. They're tombs with teeth. One by one, the ghost fleet revealed itself. None of the vessels broadcasted identification. None of them made demands, they simply acted. Each move was pre-written, etched in hard-coded war doctrine, reinforced by story-driven neural rhythm. They didn't fight to win. They fought to be remembered. They're not defending the archive, Trask realized. They're reenacting a memory. Vera Nakth, rescued by rememberers during the Purge, now stood inside the active vault. She watched the feat of the battle above and wept. They planned this, she whispered. Even in extinction, they left behind orchestras of violence. But the archive wasn't finished. Its final act was uploading, not data, but seed code. Memories encoded with strategy, history, emotion, ready for biological imprint. It needed a host. Vera stepped forward. Then let me remember them. The Ashurian Prime declared all vessels and planets exposed to Terran signals to be under memory contamination protocol. This included 5 of their own worlds. Riots broke out. Soldiers began defecting. One general transmitted the full Elias Grange recording onto the capital planet's public feed. If you're hearing this, we were never gone. We were buried under fear. They didn't survive. Every Terran vessel was eventually destroyed. But not before they took down 9 of 12 Ashurian dreadnoughts, wiped 3 assault wings, and disabled the orbital command core. The archive was destroyed, physically, but its contents were already loose, in mines, in ships, in Roga, in whispered songs, in the enemy's children. A child sat in a hydrofarm tunnel, listening to Forbidden's recordings smuggled on an old slate. We do not die quietly, he repeated the words. Alone, softly, over and over. His father, a military officer, heard it. He didn't stop him. He sat down beside him and joined in. There was one thing the Ashurians never found at Echo Bastion, not a missile, not a map, not a fleet, a soul. More specifically, a full neuro-integrated consciousness core, encrypted, archived, and launched into deep gravity drift during the final moments of the siege. It was human. It was angry. And it was still alive. Adira Vale died at Echo Bastion. But her mind, or at least the burning, defiant part of it, had been digitized into a military-grade echo shell moments before death. If they erase us, let me be the ember they can't put out, she had said. Her echo drifted for 9 years in raw black space, riding gravity slips, hiding behind cosmic radiation layers, immune to detection. Until the ghost fleet activated. And she heard it. She awoke mid-scream, not from pain, from memory. She didn't remember dying. She remembered refusing to stay dead. The last words she spoke became her first thoughts. We do not die quietly. Ashuria's ruling caste, the Psycholards, had begun a deep scan initiative. They believed the human infection was memetic spread through story, song, emotion. So they initiated Project Cleansong, a mass erasure of contaminated minds using psychic dampening fields and memory desynchronization. They targeted rebels, whistleblowers, children, even loyalists who hummed too often. It wasn't a purge, it was soul lobotomy. Because memory spreads faster than light. And in the underlayers of Ashurian DataNet, Vale Prime had begun to move. She wasn't data. She wasn't AI. She was a person with a mission and a digital form. Her fire was small, but it knew how to burn. In a stolen bioshell, Vera Nokth had begun uploading archive seed code to rogue nodes across the frontier. She was dying, hunted, exhausted, and out of time. That's when the screen blinked. Identity signal recognized echo chain engaged. Adira Vale requesting join. She gasped. Tears filled her eyes. You're not a recording. You're real. I'm what's left of real, Vale answered. Let's make it enough. Together, they forged one final plan. They wouldn't fight with fleets. They would fight with remembrance. Using the seed code, Vera launched a viral story stream, a compressed, emotional logic-structured reenactment of the final 72 stand. It was told in the language of dream, not code, not script. Emotion. Any being who felt it absorbed it and changed. It wasn't propaganda, it was truth sharpened into a weapon. Psychologists tried to counter it. They blocked the stream. But it wasn't hosted. It was felt. Their own citizens began dreaming of Earth, of burning walls, of 72 voices screaming into death. Some awoke crying. Others awoke defecting. Entire Ashurian regiments turned on their handlers. We can't kill them, one general whispered. They're already inside us. They called it the Ember Plague. A poetic name for what they thought was psychic rot. But it wasn't a plague. It was a funeral fire, one that refused to go out. Because Adira Vale was alive again, inside tens of thousands of minds. Not controlling, just whispering. We do not die quietly. We are the broken wall. We are the silence that screams. Vera died before she could see the result. Surrounded, bleeding out in a forgotten observatory tower. But she smiled. Because the sky above her, once filled with stars she could name, now echoed with the sound of Terran lullabies played across pirate channels. Vale Prime lived on. In stories. In fire. In memory. In vengeance shaped like poetry. The Ashurian sovereignty still existed. Its worlds still spun. Its war fleets still darkened stars. But inside every system, something had broken. Not their weapons. Not their structure. Their certainty. Because memory, real memory, seeded with terror and awe, had taken root in their people. And no empire survives when its children stop believing in the silence. In desperation, the Sovereign Council initiated Operation Flamewall, a final apocalyptic sweep. Every databank was purged, every memory-sensitive citizen sedated. Entire libraries minus 3,000 years of knowledge, incinerated to avoid contamination. Even the name human was banned on penalty of erasure. It didn't work. In every sector fragments remained. A whisper in an engine code. A flicker in a star map. A name spoken by a dying trader. A pulse echo from a shattered moon. And in every instance it was the same story. The stand. The fire. The 72 who refused to die quietly. In the void between galaxies, Project Oathfire activated. It was never a fleet. It was people. Human embryos, flash-grown in deep cryo. Encoded with memory archives and tactical empathy cores. Humanity's DNA spliced with synthetic resilience. The final failsafe. Left dormant unless the universe ever forgot them too well. And now? The signal from Echo Bastion, replayed by Vera and Vale Prime, had reached them. They woke up human, and they remembered everything. They chose a new name. The Ashburn, children of fire, raised by stories. Born from death, carrying the scream of 72 warriors in their blood. They weren't here to retake Earth. They were here to write the sequel. Vale Prime, now merged with the Ashburn fleet mind, sent a final message to the Ashurian sovereignty. Not as a threat, as a truth. You tried to silence the storm. You burned the roots, thinking the tree would die. But we were never a tree. We were a forest. And now we are fire. We do not seek vengeance, we seek balance. And we bring with us the memory of your mistake. They didn't attack Ashuria. They didn't conquer systems. They did something worse. They told the truth. Everywhere they landed, they spread the story of the 72, raw, unfiltered, human. They turned memory into rebellion, grief into revolution, extinction into identity. The Ashurian sovereigns collapsed. Some were executed by their own generals. Others simply disappeared. Because the last thing an empire can survive is not war. It's being made the villain of a story that everyone now believes. The galaxy did not fall, it changed. Ashburn became diplomats, teachers, keepers, not rulers. Because humanity had already ruled once and paid the price. Now they existed to remind. Somewhere, in a quiet system on a backwater moon, a child asks their parent, "Did they really scream back when the universe tried to forget them?" The parent smiles and says, "They didn't just scream. They became the scream. They made the stars remember. And when the last fire dies, they'll scream again." If this story lit something inside you, share it. Let the world remember who we are. Like, subscribe, and drop your thoughts below. We're building a legacy here, one story at a time. Until next time, stand tall, burn bright, and never let the stars forget us.